Everyone, welcome back to another episode of FGC Behind the Smoke.
Smoke baby.
Smoke baby. I am your co-host, Adamo.
Boris.
And today we have a special guest. We have our friend Jamie Flynn, who I will just say right now is one badass crazy motherfucker.
I don't know about that.
Well, compared to us, you are. So, yeah, Jamie, really appreciate you coming on today, buddy. It means a lot to us, and we're really excited to have you on because you've had quite the life, dude. Quite the experience.
Well, thanks for inviting me down and having me here today. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. How's life in Squamish?
Squamish is good.
Yeah, it's
like,
beautiful.
I love it. You know, and I don't, like coming to work. Like, it's kind of nice because I leave the city and it's like, oh, it's good. I get this like get out of the city and I feel good now.
Totally. Yeah. Squamish is gorgeous, man. It's crazy to think how much it's grown. Hey, because like I remember when my wife and we were looking at buying places. And we looked in Squamish, and at that time it was really starting to take off and really starting to grow, and we couldn't believe how expensive it was.
Dude, it's crazy expensive. You know, and like I've just like got. I think we're getting the approval on the house. Like we literally should have it all done by this Friday.
Nice.
But yeah, it's been intense.
That's awesome. Whereabouts are you from exactly?
So I'm from a little place called Slough, which is just outside of London.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a real shithole. Yeah, it's really bad. It is the arse end of nowhere in England, and it literally is projects.
Really?
Yeah, we call them council estates, so it's like rough. No one gets out of our town. Like usually, if you're from the council estate, you grow up on that shitty council estate,
Right,
and that's
right.
it. Like there's no like leaving, learning to ski, base jump, whatever else.
No, yeah, and yet you are.
Yeah, well, I think it was lucky that my mum and dad broke up.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, this sucks. And I went and moved in with my dad. Yeah, and he met a woman who was the secretary at his work, and then I ended up living with her, but they weren't actually dating at the same time. Yeah, but he just needed someone because he was a long distance truck driver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he needed someone for me to stay and go to school. So I ended up living with this woman before my dad did. Anyway, we moved down to like near Dover, which is like right on the coast.
Yeah.
And that was the easiest part because that started my extreme sports sort of background.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you moved, like you said, you kind of got into extreme sports. What was the first sport that you started to take up?
Skateboarding.
Nice.
Yeah. And it sounds like super nerdy or whatever, but it was like, I was pretty good at it. And it was more along the lines of like, I just kept doing it. You know, you do a kickflip and you're like, actually this isn't easy. You got to just keep going and going and going. And it's just like you do it 100 million times and eventually you get it and then you just try and keep perfecting it.
Yeah.
And over time I started winning competitions at skateboarding, so yeah.
Yeah, right on. So where'd you go from there, man? Because you spent some time in the parachute regiment.
Yeah.
Right. So between skateboarding and joining the parachute regiment, what was your life like?
Well, it wasn't too bad. Like once we left that like projects area, it was like we moved down to the coast near Dover, and it was like your normal school life. I was always getting in trouble because I come from the city. Everyone else was pretending they're from the city, could try and be all white boys and everything, being a bit tough.
Yeah.
So I'd always be in fights at school. Yeah, like all the time. And I wasn't very good at fighting at the time, but I ended up like losing a lot. But I don't know, it maybe toughened me up a little bit, but it never got rid of my cockiness because I would always still run my mouth off to everyone. And then I realised actually like I need to learn how to fight as well. So I ended up like becoming like a decent fighter at that point. But yeah, in my area it was like a big Royal Marine town. Like it was back in the day. And I wanted to join the Royal Marines, but I couldn't make the weight. Yeah, that they wanted. Yeah, I was just like a skinny little rat, and I was drinking protein shake. My mum was giving me pasta and like loads of stuff for like, or my stepmom at the time. She was like giving me loads of stuff to try and like put my weight on, and I couldn't do it. Wow. And then eventually Band of Brothers came out. Yeah, and I was like, that's fucking sick.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be a paratrooper. Fuck this like marine stuff. So yeah, Band of Brothers came out. Bravo 20 was a big movie at the time. Yeah, and those two movies together. Like, and then I also had an argument with a friend's dad who was a Marine, and I was like, yo, fuck this. I got my dad to drive me to the train station. I got train station to Canterbury, walked into the army recruiting office, didn't tell my parents. join the parachute regiment, and in there they give you like 3 options. Like, hey, you need to write 3 options of where you want to go.
Right. Yeah, we did that as well.
Yeah, like where you want to go, and I put 1 para, 2 para, 3 para.
Nice.
Yeah, they were like, "You're probably gonna fail, you know that, right? Like it's the hardest regiment to get into." And I was like, "Yep, that's where I want to go." And then
That's awesome.
What was the selection process like for that?
yeah, it was pretty rough. Like
Yeah.
it was a culture shock coming from like I was 16 when I joined the army.
Oh wow.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah, so I was very young, and I had to go to this junior leaders college for a year. And in that college, it was just basic training, but rather than being like your normal 8 weeks, it was a year dragged out, and they taught kids how to be soldiers. And while you were there, they got you your schooling, all your qualifications that you missed out that you would have got if you stayed at what we called sixth form. I don't know what you guys call it.
So that's like high school.
High school.
Yeah.
Diploma.
GED.
Yeah, so they get you all your qualifications for you.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. Like at the time, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but then I realized as an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, shit, I didn't do any schooling. I was like, let's score 15. And I'm like,
So that's pretty crazy that you can join that young, eh? Is that normal over there?
not really, but they basically just gives people an option to join the army, and then you can have this like time to go and learn to be a soldier, and it drags it out. So it's like there's a lot of like to be a soldier is like a lot of stuff to know.
Yeah.
Just like firefighting, it's just like in a year's time you can go for everything. You know everything in depth. You know all the nerdy stuff that you need to know. But
Yeah.
I was actually really lucky because like my instructor that I had was a parachute regiment guy who later went on and won a Victoria Cross.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I was taught by one of the best guys.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So how old are you when you went overseas then?
I had my 18th birthday in Afghanistan.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a good one. They sang happy birthday to me in a firefight.
Oh really?
Yeah. We went out and it was like my first day, and they're like, "All right, kid, you're gonna get it today." And I'm like, "All right, cool, whatever." And then all of a sudden we were out for probably like an hour, and then it was like contact front, and I'm like, and I was at the back, and I'm like having to run all the way up, and contact's not like the movies where everyone just exploded, and it's like it does get rowdy, but it's not rowdy initially, and then everyone like came up to the front. And then I look over and this machine gunner stood there and he's trying to sing happy birthday while shooting. He's like, happy birthday. And then like everyone started singing it along the line, and then it's kind of funny hearing everyone sing happy birthday to me like
While they're shooting. Yeah, while you're in a gunfight.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
But the basic training of it, because after the actual year that you do at this leader college, you go on to like parachute regiment depot.
Right.
Yeah, which is actually like where the
That's
boys are turned into men.
Yeah, that's the actual selection process, right?
Yeah.
Essentially. How many guys do you start with for that one?
Well, we had like 2 platoons.
Okay.
Yeah, because we all got amalgamated because we had so many. I can't remember how many we had when we started, but when we got to week 11, yeah, we were down to 12 people. Yeah, and we still had like I don't know how many weeks left, like 10 weeks or 11 weeks left to do.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like there's no way we're gonna pass with 11 like. Still, and we but then we got amalgamated, so we all got back squatted into like the class that was behind us.
Oh, okay.
So we bolstered it up, and then we went through, and that was where the nightmare actually started, because in that class there was a French Foreign Legion guy who joined the paras.
Oh boy.
Who then became the instructor. He'd been in the parachute regiment for years, became an instructor, and was an absolute cunt. Yeah, and I don't like. I'm not going to use any other word to describe him. He was a prick, and there's no. I can't even make up some of the stuff he was saying. I was talking about at the dinner table the other day how like he made us all throw up, and we threw up everywhere, and like he would just grab it and just drink it in front of us.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, and you're just like, you're a psychopath.
That's awesome.
And what we were learning was like, he was teaching us a valuable lesson, right? Because he was like, make everyone think you are crazy.
Yeah.
But you're not really, because as soon as he turned away, he probably like threw up around the corner. Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
But he made us all believe he was this like step beyond, and that's who we're trying to aspire to be.
Wow.
It was intimidating, like yeah.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
man. Those French Foreign Legion guys are pretty. They're pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's quite the. I looked into it a little bit just out of curiosity, and yeah, it seems like it's quite the unique thing that they got going on there.
Well, you got a lot of like war criminals join. I know during the '90s as well, because they just give you a brand new passport, brand new basic identity.
Yeah.
As long as you can kind of, sort of speak French, not even, right? It's
So you learn it.
yeah, it's kind of
Wow.
like learn on the job type of thing. So yeah, you just get people from all sorts of places.
Terrifying.
Yeah. And this guy was terrifying. Like we had punishments. If you like, like in like training, you have to run to the gate and do whatever punishments.
Yeah.
Our punishment would be at 11 o'clock at night. You had to take all your uniform, your bed and everything up to the guard room and have it inspected outside. At night time, and you'd be messed around and then do it again at 12, 1, 2, 3, an extra hour at 4. Or you could have this hot sauce. Yeah, so they gave us a teaspoon of the bomb hot sauce. Which
Oh
was like,
God.
yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, that stuff's horrible.
So like these guys were like, now looking back, it's like it's great. They were having fun. We were like panicking because we were like, what the hell? What's going on? And they were just also weeding us all out. You know, like they wanted us all to quit, and they did. They weeded so many people out.
Yeah.
And I just kept thinking I didn't want to go back to where I grew up. So I got to make it through, and all the stuff they just kept doing was insane. Like they'd watch stuff that happens on. They recreated Band of Brothers, for example. Do you remember the episode where they eat all the spaghetti and then make them run up?
Yeah, make them run up the.
Yeah, and they literally recreated that movie. And to this day, I still have it in my mind. They were like, "Eat, guys," and we were in there, and they were like making us eat as we were like walking down the thing, then dumping it in, and then taking us outside, and then they made us run around until people were throwing up everywhere.
Oh man.
Yeah, I swear all they did was watch movies and then go, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Yeah, we're gonna do that tomorrow. Man, that's crazy. Wow. That's like you said, it turns boys to men probably real quick, eh?
Yeah, I don't know how many people we had pass out of our class, but like our class was small. Like when you look at the passing out pictures, we got our little group and the band that come along and do all the fan dance stuff afterwards. The band was bigger than us.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, that's
So
crazy.
I think that's when my dad realised. He was like, wow. He always knew like this was a big thing.
Yeah.
You always see the parachute regiment cap badge and you're like, okay, I've seen that in movies and old stuff. But like,
Yeah.
you don't really appreciate actually what it takes to be there.
Yeah.
And then I think my dad, like at that point when he saw how small the group was, he was like, okay, I feel like you actually just did something.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no kidding, man. That's like probably like 1% of people actually make it through that or something, right? Like it's probably something so small.
It's tiny.
Was it always your plan to go overseas? Like, did you join the parachute regiment with the plan in mind to go to Afghanistan?
Yeah, like I want to join the Paras because I was like, I want to join the spear of the army. Like you don't, I mean, some people do. They want to be engineers or they want to be carpenters or whatever. Like it's great, but if I'm going to join something, I want to be at the tip. I want to be doing
Hell yeah.
the stuff. Obviously, the romantic stuff that we think is romantic actually kind of sucks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not that good, but it was fun. Like there was good times in there.
How long were you in Afghanistan?
We do like 6 months at a time.
Okay.
So, yeah, the first tour I did a little bit less because my buddy who taught me, he died, won the Victoria Cross. Pretty affected me quite a bit, and then they basically were like, oh, you need to like get out of Dodge sort of thing. So they were like, oh, there's an opening at our Special Forces battalion that was just starting up, and they were like, do you want that? And I was like, yeah, I'm in.
Wow.
Which is good because like mental health at the time was a big like no, you didn't talk about it.
Totally.
But for someone to be like, I recognise something here. You've just lost your buddy. Like, let's get you out of here. Do something else. Yeah, and it was done in a way where no one like slagged you off for it. It was, let's move him over here to this unit. He's going to go do this course, and yeah, I was sort of like looked after a little bit, which was.
That's good. That's good that they had the mindset to recognize that.
Yeah, but I watched other guys not recognise. But then it was like some guys were like, not everyone's a good guy. Like in the fire department, there's always some.
Yeah.
Wasters and
totally. It's always a mixed bag,
it's
right?
a mixed bag, and majority of people are good.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like we get 1 or 2 people that just get treated like crap.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your time in Afghanistan and what that was like?
Yeah, like the first time was pretty wild. Like I said, I didn't really know much what was going on. My eyes were just like, whoa, what is happening? But my second tour was Iraq, and that was in a thing called Task Force Black. And we went out as like 2-2 SAS and C Company SFSG. And our goal was to go after these like high-ranking Al Qaeda members. So if you ever remember like the deck of cards and all that sort of thing that was put on the news, our job was to go after the high-ranking officers and IED facilitators and raid the houses, arrest them, and bounce on target to target. So that ended up being like the best tour I've ever done. Like I had so much fun. Like you were just doing job after job after job, and it was you were doing random stuff like fast roping out of helicopters. Like we were in a minor helicopter crash, like there was like all sorts of things where you'd be like scrapping with people, like, and it was random, like, because I kept thinking as I'm looking out, we're flying low level over people's houses. We land on top, they're not expecting us. Next thing is we're like knocking the door down with like explosives, charging through the door, and then these people are like, hey, how you doing? And then like actually looking at these, because you like when you watch the news, when you're back at the base, you look at the news and you're like, oh, okay. And then when you actually see that person from that card in his underwear as you're dragging him out of bed, you're like, oh, that's such a surreal moment.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time where, because I would imagine if I was over there doing what you were doing, I'd be absolutely terrified. Was there ever a time where you just, the nerves just didn't kick in anymore, where it was just so routine?
No, like you're scared a lot of time. Yeah. Like I remember the worst, the most I was ever scared was, so we had the SAS, they raided the house, and our job was to provide cordons and back up their team as like comms or medics and everything. And I remember being on the cordon one day, and I was like just securing this like T-junction, and I like looked at this house and I'm like, okay, cool, you know, and then they're raiding it, and then a light comes on. So I get on the radio and I'm like, hey guys, just so you know, like a light's come on this Alpha, yeah, and they're like, okay, and then it all goes silent. These guys are trying to raid it, and they're like, we're in the wrong house. And I was like, oh fuck.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it comes over and goes, your team now needs to make entry. Yeah, and I remember like my junior guy at the time was just like, you could see his face because now he's the first one through the door.
Yeah.
The light's already on. Yeah, you're like, oh, here we go. And then I looked at his face and it was just pure white. Like I was like, wait, behind me now. Yeah, get your flashbangs out. And I was like, okay, I'll point man coming in and things. Anyway, I remember lining up at the door, with door opens, flashbang goes in. I just like charge into this building, and now I'm like absolutely shitting my pants. Turn around, this face pops out of the thing, and I just absolutely petrified. And rather than doing my job and actually like drilling the guy, which is what we've trained for, I let go of my pistol grip, punched him in the face, and I was like, well, that's him. So yeah, like. It was just a surreal moment. I didn't do my job correctly, but I'm also glad I didn't, because just imagine that, like, that would traumatize you for life.
For sure. Yeah, you still got the job done though.
We got, but yeah, we went through, and it was just a unique, I remember it to this day, and yeah.
Oh man, that is wild.
How long was Iraq? Was that 9 months or
6 months?
6 months as well. Yeah. And then did you guys decompress in Cyprus or?
So here's the funny one, is like, our unit wasn't allowed decompression.
No?
No. So after the 2006 tour, the parachute regiment went back to this aquateria, and they, you know, you allowed your beers and you get absolutely drunk. Yeah. But the regiment got so drunk, so rowdy, they smashed up the entire place, that they locked everyone into the rooms and got the police to come, and they wouldn't allow. And there's all these guys acting like, you know, you remember 300, where it's like, what's your profession?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, ooh, ooh. and then our regiment was banned from decompression, so I never had decompression ever.
Just a bunch of wild animals, eh?
Like,
you can't decompress these guys?
Yeah, you can't.
It's impossible.
You can't tame these wild beasts, you know.
Oh man, that's so crazy. So, oh, sorry. Go
Yeah.
on.
So what happened after that? So you're done with Iraq.
And then I went back to Afghanistan for the next time. In that time I did like a 6-week trip to Basra, and I did a 6-week tour to Afghan. But then I went deployed again for 6 months to Afghanistan as a I was a radio operator at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was like pretty good. You know, we were out every single day, and because we didn't have enough radio operators, I had to like bounce on. So we'd have 3 teams, and like one would be at base, the other would go out on the ground somewhere over here, and then someone would go elsewhere. And our job was to do like long range tactical sort of patrols and help other units, and we'd have these things called tiger teams and everything. And this was like you imagine the old school bread and butter of the SAS, like driving around in their little things. Like we managed to get their job, and then we lived that life, and it was just camping with the boys and just getting into fights every day.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was wild. It was like we would turn up to a base, and it would be like the US Marines or the whatever British Army unit was, and then they go, oh, we can't actually get past this line, or this road, and we're like, yeah, we could do it. And then we just go out and just like poke the hornet's nest, and then the I-Star above us would then pick out how many people were in that village who wanted to fight.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how they got their numbers, and then we knew how strong the Taliban were in certain areas.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So, and you guys were also capturing them too.
Yeah, we capture them. Yeah.
Wow. What was that like?
One of them's like sometimes it's weird because it's like you get out face to face with these guys. Some guys are like $10 Taliban. They're not really the Taliban.
Mm-hmm.
The Taliban have paid them $10 to
Yeah.
dig in, and they get arrested. And that's the sad part of that, is that these guys aren't really Taliban. They're just paid to do a job.
Yeah.
But then other guys we detained were like, we came across an English person. Yeah, which was mental.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy was talking to us in Pashto with a Brummy accent. Yeah, and we were like, this guy's got an accent. And one of the guys who's a Brummy, was like looking at him, was like, he recognised him. And it turns out the guy went to school with him.
No
He
way.
was like a couple of years younger, or 3 years under. Yeah, like they didn't know each other.
Right.
Yeah.
But he was like, we ended up being at the same school. It was fucking wild.
That's
Wow.
cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
So you just left England, joined the Taliban, and
casually as you do.
yeah. Amazing.
That's crazy. So, how many tours in total did you do over there?
So I did three big tours, and then a couple of little ones here and there.
Nice.
Standby, because we worked on a 2-year rotation. So we did like counter-terrorism, which was all our like counter-terrorism stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'd be a training where we would do. It would be training anywhere in the world. So we would do exercises that would be like, something's happened in London and we now need to go to here, and other jobs we would go to like the Belize or the jungle. Then we would go on deployment for 6 months, and then we'd come back. So we didn't ever really got much leave because you were just continually doing something.
Constantly.
Right.
If you weren't out there in the field, you were training.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I did 3 years around that cycle, and then I was like, enough's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probation must have been easy for you at the fire hall.
Probation was fun.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was great.
We'll definitely get into that. But, so then kind of from there, you went into like protecting commercial ships. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did like at the same time, like on the news, that whole Captain Phillips stuff all sort of kicked off, and then people just started leaving the regiment just straight away, and you're like, where are you guys going? They're like, oh, there's this thing going on, and obviously that whole story wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys all started deploying out to Africa,
Yeah.
and then when the story came back of how much these guys were earning, suddenly everyone was leaving.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was just like, the £300 a day to go and sit on a ship was a great.
Gold rush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
huge gold rush. And I was like, I'm getting on some of that. So yeah, I got out, went to Malta, and I literally went to Malta, did my course, and that was the first time I ever did any firefighting stuff. Because on the STCW 95, which is every person who gets on a ship needs to have it, there's a firefighting element of it because you need to fight fires on the ship.
Right.
Yeah, and they would give us SCBAs, and they would give us all the drills, like very basic and whatever. But I remember coming out of it dripping with sweat, and he's like turning up, and I was like, I am never doing that job. That is the most miserable job. That was so hot, and I am not doing that.
After all you've done, this sucks.
Well, surprise, surprise. Guess what happened?
Yeah, and I remember like going off on a rant with someone. I was like, I've never, like, firefighters are mental. Like, that was hot, that was miserable, but yeah, I never realized I'd actually become a firefighter.
Oh man, that's awesome. What was it like on those shifts? Was it pretty quiet for the most part? Did you ever run into any actual pirates trying to rob you guys?
It was quiet majority of the time. Depending on where you were going, like I jump on ships in like the Suez, and go all the way to Sri Lanka, or we'd get on in Djibouti, which is just like North Africa, and go to Dubai. And we'd bounce around that sort of Madagascar, sort of African coast all the time. And majority of the time it was just like 8 hours on, 8 hours off, or 8 on, 16 off, like what you're doing. But you're just like continuing for like 2 weeks, just on watch. You get your routine, you do your gym, there was not really a gym, so it was always like a body workout. So
Yeah.
it was like up massive all the time. Like you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna work out.
Yeah.
Work out, eat, and watch your movies that you brought with you on hard drives.
Yeah. Captain Phillips.
More Band of Brothers.
Pretty much, Band of Brothers. And then, I came across 2 sets of pirates in my time. Yeah. One time it was like, they're very smart, because when the sun rises, I don't know if you've ever been at sea, but the sun sort of beams across a line if you're looking at it.
Yeah.
And they would always attack you from that line.
Oh.
Yeah. So you're blind as you're like looking at them.
Huh.
And we got approached because it was like a mothership in the distance, which is this big dhow. And then they would have these skiffs, and they would just come at you. Yeah. And I remember like being asleep, and it's just like tones going off. Someone, but instead it's some Chinese guy going, Mr. Jamie, there's fucking someone coming. Like, what the fuck? So I come running up, and I'm like, my buddy's up there, and he's like, get the ammo. I'm like, okay, so we're now dishing ammo around the bridge and getting everyone into the citadel, because there's like a safe room in the bottom of the ship that they lock themselves into. And then the 3 of us were then up on the bridge wing. And I'm like looking, and you're counting how many people are coming. You're like, okay, there's 3 of us, and 8 of them, and I guess we better fight.
Wow.
And then I remember they came on my side of the bridge, and I like put a warning shot down that was a little close to the skiff, and they stopped.
Yeah.
And that was it. Literally the boat stopped, all their boats stopped, and then we carried on going.
Oh wow.
And that was it. They were like, clearly these guys have got security.
Yeah, they're like, oh.
Yeah.
And about like 8 hours later, we hear the mayday on the radio. Yeah, of piracy attack, and it was like when we marked it out on the map, it was
Same
Same
guys.
same guys, you reckon?
Just hit a different boat.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, they're cruel, those Somali pirates, because they're not like, I don't even know exactly how they do it, but they send people out with just enough fuel to attack a boat. Yeah, so they can't get back.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they're
Really?
they're wild, like how they do
Huh.
stuff.
Is that so they don't like trace it back to the mothership type of thing, or like?
I don't know, or they just don't have it bail. They don't bail. You're attacking the ship.
Right. Yeah.
You're gonna get us money to bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, or don't come back at all.
Yeah. Huh.
So, that was a fun time.
Man, that's crazy. And you also did some like personal security stuff as well, is that correct?
Yeah, so I went down after all that work. It was the money just fizzled out, and
Yeah.
people started going elsewhere, and everyone went back to Iraq and a private contractor, and I didn't really want to do that, so I went back home and I looked after a professional football player for a while. That was his like personal, bodyguard, and then that became like a big babysitting job, and I was like, okay, I had enough of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you training MMA and jiu-jitsu at the time as well, or is that something you got into later?
No, I got into way later, like when
Okay.
I was here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
only like, that was only like 4 or 5 years ago.
Looking back now on what you know with like the martial arts stuff, do you feel that you guys are well trained in that stuff when you were in the army?
Yeah, like we did stuff. Like we definitely trained.
Yeah.
And it was weird. Like we were put into like, all right, guys, you can fight now, and you go and just beat each other up. Yeah,
Wow.
or we'd be boxing in the ring, and like you just like some guys were professional boxers who were just like knocking you out. And you're
Yeah.
just, like, hanging on.
This sucks.
Yeah, so yeah, it was fun. I wish we did more jiu-jitsu and stuff at the time, and it was better because if we focused, our regiment kills it now. Like
Yeah.
the amount of guys we have in the UFC, like the guys that are doing well in jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
like all come from our regiment. We had like Jack Marshman who was in the UFC.
Yeah.
We had Cameron Else who was in the UFC.
Yeah.
I think he's the only guy who's beat Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, but Paddy always hides that.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't like to
Doesn't
talk
like
about
that
that
video.
one. Yeah. It's. I've always wondered that because, you know, I would think that mixed martial arts in the army would be such an asset to you guys out there, right? But
Yeah, but you're also fighting with a rifle as well. Like bullets hurt more than fists.
that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
What made you guys move out here?
Well, I was on a base jumping trip, so
Okay.
yeah, as you are. And then I was traveling across the states, just making videos and doing the whatever for my sponsors at the time. Got to LA. I partied really hard with a friend of mine who was on the same base jumping team as me. My flight was at 7 a.m. and my theory was if I partied so hard, I'd party through the night, drive to the airport, get on the plane, fly home and sleep the entire way.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Obviously. However, it got to like 4 a.m. and I fell asleep. I didn't wake up until 1 in the afternoon.
Oh no, missed your flight.
Missed my flight. Yeah, when I looked on Google Flights, my flight was all over like Greenland already, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm not on that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have enough money to get another flight.
Huh.
So I contacted a sponsor that was based up here in Vancouver, and I was like, hey, do you want to make a video in Squamish? You know, and they were like, yeah, that's a cool idea. I was like, perfect. I just need a rental car from LA. And they were like, what happened? I was like, wow.
Let me tell
Let me
you.
tell you the story. I had 24 hours to get out of the States because my visa expired. Yeah, so I drove like non-stop from LA, got across the border, and like fell asleep in a lay-by just on this side of the border.
Oh crap.
Yeah, and then I never left.
Had you've obviously heard of Squamish prior to that then? If you knew you wanted to go up there to film a video?
No,
No?
I hadn't heard of it really.
No.
I came when I was in the army. I came to Vancouver to play rugby.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool, like way back. So I knew Vancouver was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know much about Squamish, but when I was like looking at my sponsor there, I had to do some research, and Squamish came up, and I was like, yeah, let's go and have a good
Let's do it, yeah.
So,
How'd you get into the whole base jumping thing?
yeah, that's a long one as well.
We got time.
Yeah, we got time. It's going to be half an hour. We were obviously in the parachute regiment, and everyone does the parachute and stuff anyway. Everyone hates parachuting. It's miserable in the military. Some guys go down like the skydive route, and then that's kind of cool. And then one of the guys in my platoon, he had a big base jumping poster on the wall. And I was like, that's pretty cool, dude. How do you do that? And he's like, it's South African dude. Bear in mind, South African people they're mental.
Yeah.
Like they're not the best people to
So
ask for
you
advice.
fit right in then.
So I'm like, hey dude, how do we do this? Yeah, and he was like, right, what we do is we do this bridge swinging thing first. And I was like, well, that's what I do with parachuting. He's like, we practice and then we go base jumping. And I was like, okay, the logic makes sense.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. Not at all. So me and him went out to this like bridge in like a place called Merthyr Tydfil in Wales, and we drilled in bolts onto this like big bridge, chucked a rope down, connected it up, and we made this huge like rope system, and then like a haul system then afterwards to try and haul us back up. So one would jump and the other would haul.
Oh my god.
Nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
What could go wrong? Like, so we did a lot of practicing these like jumps off this like thing, and then everyone found out in our unit that we were jumping on this, and like, that's ingenious. So we started getting bigger and bigger on these like jump and these bridge swings, and eventually I was like, yeah, dude, but like we want a base jump, and he was like, yeah, okay, let's buy some parachutes. So we did, and then there's a pylon, like an electricity pylon, yeah, just by the bridge that goes England to Wales.
Okay.
Yeah, and I snuck in there and I climbed over the barbed wire fence and I went up there and I remember watching the guy who was on the poster, his name's Dukes, he's actually a really good friend of mine now. I remember like watching his videos and he did this like demonstration of how to set up it on a YouTube video. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch that. So I watched it before I went, climbed up, got all my gear set up. I was like, okay, logically this makes sense. So fuck it, let's do it. And I just like ran off the pylon and
I watched a YouTube video on like how to seal my bathroom. I'm like, I don't know if this YouTube video is good enough. You watch a YouTube video, you jump off a tower.
Anyway, totally, if anyone's looking to get a base jumping, this is not how you do it.
Full disclaimer.
Yeah, 100%. I will be angry at you if you do it. No, it was, and then at the same time, I was on the British skydive team. So I was, someone in Toronto paid for me to come out there and teach them this discipline of skydiving that I was doing. And as I'm at the end of the week, I'm talking to this guy who I've been coaching all week. I was like, as we're climbing up in the plane, I was like, well, that building looks good. We could jump off that. He's like, you a base jumper? I said, yeah. It's like, he goes, why didn't you say that? We could be jumping every night. Like, I've been base jumping for years. And then we're like, oh, okay. So afterwards we got talking and I told him how I got into base jumping and I've got like 25 base jumps. He looked at me and he was like, dude, if you had told me that at the beginning of the week, I wouldn't have been on your course. Yeah. I was like, wow. Okay, that's harsh. And he was mad at me. Yeah, but he was like, I like you and I like the style and I like who you are. And then he just said to me, he goes, can you extend your flight home? Like stay an extra week. He goes, if you stay an extra week, I'll teach you how to base jump and what you need to know. Yeah, and when I go to work in the daytime, you pack all the parachutes, yeah, and then when we come home at night, I'll jump all night with you.
Wow.
Yeah, so me and this guy did that for like a week. I got so much experience. This guy taught me like everything he possibly could. And then when I went home back to the UK, yeah, I had like much more knowledge than I had before.
Yeah.
And he was always on a phone call, like to accept like phone calls at any time of the day or night. And yeah, that's how I got base jumping.
What was it like making that first jump?
That was scary, like, because it was pitch black.
Yeah.
Know? And then in base jumping, especially in the UK where it's not technically legal, but it's not really illegal.
Bit of a grey area.
Bit of a grey area. I literally, I ran off the pylon, held it to go past the electrical cables. So I was like, I don't want the canopy open the other way and touch it. So I made sure I give a delay, which by the way is pretty dumb on your first jump as well. And then when the parachute opened, I went, oh, is that it? And then I landed and and normally what you should do is get your parachute, especially in the UK, pack it all up, get in your car and drive off. Because the police can call.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't know much about the ethics of base jumping, so I basically put my headlights on, packed the parachute in the parking lot and went and did it again.
Oh my god. Wow. Crazy.
And then went back to work for like the morning and rolled back in, I was like buzzing.
Oh yeah.
I had to go on this 10-mile run and everyone's like, you did what? That's so fucking, you're an idiot. That's so cool. And then I had to sleep all day in the hangar and hide from our officers because I couldn't keep my eyes open. Everyone's covering for me and I'm hiding, I was asleep on a shelf in this hangar while I was what the fuck is chasing me?
Dude, I did bungee jumping in Africa when my wife and I were there for a honeymoon in Victoria Falls. And I almost shit my pants. And here you are talking about jumping off of towers at nighttime.
Alone.
Man, I'm a wimp.
No, I'm just stupid.
There's a fine line.
Seems like you definitely have this element of fearlessness to you. Have you always kind of been like that, like a thrill seeker like that, or?
No. And I also want to say fearless either. I'm definitely everything I'm doing is scared, and I feel like the more buzz that I get is overcoming it.
Right.
I'm thinking about how to do it properly. Even though I did it very stupid, it wasn't just a Yahoo. It very much was a Yahoo way of doing it, but I was also very calculated on how I did it. I was very OCD. I was checking everything. I was panicking. I was I tried to follow everything that I read about, and I still do that now. Is I try and look at every reason not to jump, and then when there isn't any other reason to jump, then it's like, okay, I'm gonna give it a go.
I'm doing it, yeah. So you're pretty calculated now then with your jumping.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been hurt and close enough to die in that I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
So,
That doesn't seem like fun.
No, especially when you're like barreling down a mountain in a freaking squirrel suit.
Head first.
I saw one of your recent videos on your Instagram of you jumping at the chief there, and you were kind of going through looked like a little valley there, and
South Gully, yeah.
man, that like I was nervous watching it. It's like holy crap! Like for our listeners, you guys we'll tell them your Instagram at the end of this, but you guys need to go and take a look at Jamie's Instagram because it is unbelievable. Like the stuff that you do, dude, is wild.
Do you have life insurance?
Yeah.
Oh, like is it pretty expensive?
No, that's normal price. That's okay. I never had life insurance ever until I came to Canada and became a resident because now Canada insures base jumpers.
Wow.
Nowhere else.
No way,
does.
really?
Yeah, it's cool. It's the first time I've had life insurance, first time I've had travel insurance.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good time to be alive.
It's like the safest you've ever been too.
Yeah, and all the base jumping world is like, we hate Canadians because they can actually get insured.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild, man. So what was your what was your first job when you came to Canada? And what was the reason for you moving here?
Just the visa ran out in the States.
So that was it then, and you're like, hey, I like this place.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
staying.
like, come out here, obviously met a woman. You know, every great story starts with that.
Yeah.
Every great story ends with a divorce. So
Yeah.
still working on the divorce.
Yeah.
But no, I met a woman. We got married and then stayed here, and I've been in Squamish. But my first job here was ski patrol at Grouse.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I couldn't ski.
Oh.
How'd you get that job?
So
I'll parachute down and get them.
So I went for the job interview that I read online says whatever ski patrol medic, yeah, and it was like, and it went down all these medical expert. It was more focused on medical than can you ski,
Right.
yeah. And then I'd done one season because I lived in Salt Lake City for a year, and I skied there for a season, so I can like beginner ski, you know.
Yeah.
And basically, I was in this interview with someone, and he's going, "Can you ski every run on this mountain?" And I said, "Oh, I've never skied this mountain." And they both laughed, and I was like, "Well, okay." So we laughed, and they just thought I was, because I was joking around in the interview quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right.
They were liking the humour. So when I said that, they thought I was joking, and they were like, "Okay, sweet." But then they covered all my medical stuff, and they were like, "Yeah, okay, you're golden." And then when I got the job, I was like, shit, I better learn how to ski. So there was a guy there, his name's Peter, yeah, and Pete would ski, and then I would ski right behind him every single time, even on fresh powder days. Yeah, it was like, and he's like, why are you right behind me? And I'm like, I'm imitating you, dude.
Yeah.
And then he learned I was skiing like him, so I told him, hey, I can't really ski. He was like, well, I'll ski with you. You know, and we'll teach him. We had a bit of a crap season to start, so he was just more than happy to like teach me how to ski.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
work on the skis and everything else. And then a year later, we both went up to Whistler Blackcomb to ski patrol.
Wow.
So,
Nice.
Cool.
So did you? I guess you wouldn't have to move to Whistler because Squamish is so close to it, anyways, right?
Yeah, we just drive up.
Drive up. Yeah, it's like what, 40 minutes or so?
40 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Nice. Yeah, it's. I gotta learn how to ski so I can do this job that I've already been hired to do. They think I know how to ski. I better learn quick.
Yeah.
And then, so where'd you kind of go from there? Like, because you do have your own company as well, correct?
Yeah, so, you know, I set up a security company and I was doing different jobs. So I did a job. Do you remember the Icarus project on Netflix about the sports doping?
Yeah.
So,
That was a great documentary.
yeah, so I looked after the journalist for that for while that was being filmed. So I was out in Montreal and Ottawa, and when they did all the like filming, but not with the main guy. It was like the guy who did all the research behind
Okay.
it, and we met that doctor, and Yeah, and that was pretty cool. But at the time, I had no idea what was going on.
Right.
I just knew that I had to keep this, and people were following us, and we just needed to do like counter surveillance measures. And then later on, I realized, because I got sent the video by the guy, and he was just like, "Oh, this is it," and I'm like, "Shit, it's on Netflix."
Wow.
I thought you were just a douchebag.
Were you armed during that too?
No.
So it's just like, if anybody messes around, you just gotta choke them out.
Yeah, no, like a lot of things about like thinking rather than, you know, everyone thinks your bodyguard's meant to be the dude that's like fighting, and really it's all about planning the escape routes, knowing where you are. You know, like every route that I would go, I would know there's like an exit through that store, and that the club. I knew the managers in all the clubs. I knew so you go around for a couple of days before, get to know all the bars that you think your client will want to go to, and then you learn the managers, get their phone numbers, and then you can sort of know the ins and outs and layouts of places. Just like doing tacticals.
I was just gonna say, so it's a lot of tactical stuff.
It is literally just doing tacticals
Nice.
for 2 days prior to the client arriving. Yeah.
And I guess obviously you learned a lot of that through being in the military, right? So.
And then base jumping and sneaking in places.
Yeah. What's the craziest place you've base jumped out of?
Twickenham Stadium, which is the England National Rugby Stadium.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
You base jumped off that?
Yeah, in the middle of the Rugby World Cup. Yeah,
Right.
so 2015, I think it was. England were playing Wales the next morning, and I was like, I need to jump this. And I knew there was a couple of base jumpers that I really didn't like. And there's a rivalry in every sport. And this other little rivalry they got arrested trying to base jump it, and I'd been planning this for ages, but they were trying to cut me out and trying to do it first.
Oh yeah.
And then they got arrested, and then I was like, I'm going in, but I'm going to do it ballsy. Yeah, so I looked at the security, and they had red hoodies and these like lanyards. Yeah, so I bought the lanyard when I watched the rugby game the day before, which was just the Rugby World Cup one. I had a 50% off like badge that I tucked away. I wore a high vis vest. I had a clipboard.
Nice.
And the camera guy had a big, huge camera, and he just followed me around. And I walked past the security, and we were just like, we're just off to just to get B-roll of the sky. You know, just to like pan out nighttime, zoom out, and then it'll be the daytime, England and Wales. And the guys were like, okay, cool.
Yeah, you seem legit. You have a vest on.
Oh, you got a clipboard too. Clipboard's huge.
And next thing is I'm on the roof of Twickenham Stadium, and I'm just like, yeah. So anyway, we jumped that, and that was probably one of my best shows, because you know I'm also like a big rugby fan, Saracens and England. So yeah, jumping the national stadium was insane. Let alone being on the pitch. Like normally you don't get to touch the grass of the stadium. And yeah, I got down there, and we thought we were going to get arrested. So we took all the gear off, got all these pictures under the posts on the pitch, and nothing happened after half an hour. So we were like, okay, this is weird. So we decided to, okay, let's walk out. And like walked out, jumped the fence, and then left.
No way. Really?
That was it. Yeah.
Holy crap.
And then I sold the footage to all our like local news sources and everything, and then they published it. And I didn't realise I had a family friend who was quite high up in the Rugby Football Union, who I get a phone call from the next morning. What the hell did you just do? Yeah.
Like pretty cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He was like, this is stoked. He goes, yeah, the rugby players, because there's like a bunch of the rugby players will send me a message on Twitter being like, that was sick. Yeah, but we can't like publicly announce it. It was sick.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like then the Rugby Football Union were like, they were going to go and ban me. But my family friend was like, oh, we can't ban him. Like, he's a huge England fan. Like, he's a huge Saracens fan. Like, you ban him from Twickenham. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And they managed to like talk it down to like, don't do it again.
Right.
Yeah. Wow, dude, that's wild. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So, you had your security firm and all that kind of stuff, and then what made you get into firefighting? Because you said earlier, you're like, this seems like a horrible job.
Yeah, it was a horrible job. No, I was after the whole ski patrol thing. Like, I was like, well, I like medicals. Like, I always have done, even in the military. I like the medical side of things. And I was like, I'll be a paramedic. You know,
Yeah.
and in the UK, being a paramedic is like 4 years at school. It's like you're pretty much ALS when you finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I thought that was the same over here.
Okay.
So I started going down the route of PCP. I then paid my thing, and they gave me back to school, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're not going to go to New West. You're going to go to Chilliwack." I was like, "Well, you know what? I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like I live in Squamish. This is
Yeah, forget that.
yeah." I was like, "Forget this," and you know, and they were like, "Yeah, but you've got a spot." I was like, "No, but I'm telling you, I'm only going to take New West or nothing. Like I don't want. Like I'll do something else."
Yeah.
And then they like, "You lose your money." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, it's $100. Keep it. Whatever."
Yeah.
Like, fine, if you give me this much. And then a buddy of mine who's a westbound firefighter just went, "Hey, come and hang out at this party." And I met up with like this, like their crew party, and I was like, "Whoa, actually, these dudes are like, they're actually like okay dudes." Like most of the paramedics that I saw ski patrolling who were quite nerdy sometimes,
Yeah.
you know. And I was like, I could tell the different personality, and I was like, I think I'm gonna fit in better with these guys.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. When someone told about firefighting, then it was like, yeah.
And then you just kind of decided from this is what I want to do now.
Yeah, I didn't have much money at the time, so I sold pretty much a wingsuit, a parachute, borrowed money off my parents to try and get 1001 and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Where'd you go for your 1001?
I went through the train division.
Yeah, that's where I did mine.
Yeah, meant to go to Texas, but COVID hit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then I went to Surrey and did it there.
Yeah, I went to Texas and it was cool, man. Texas is, I don't know if you've been.
I've been down there now.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
missus passed did it last year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So she's in the, I think, Richmond at the minute process to try and get through.
Awesome, man. Good for her. That's awesome. Yeah, it's Texas was super cool though. It was such a because you always think like the States is gonna be similar to here, but it's just so different. Like there's people riding their Harleys with no helmets down there. And, like everyone there had a gun, and it was just like it was so different. It was like the Wild West down there when I was there.
Even my 1001 like Q&A down there for the first 10 minutes, they were just like, yeah, so what about our guns? Do we keep them in the truck? Do we like have a lock them up in here somewhere? It's like a gun Q&A for the first 10.
I remember one guy in my 1001. He was like, I was asking him, I'm like, so do you guys all like carry guns down here? He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh okay. He's like, I'm like, oh, you just holster? He goes, well, it depends, right? He's like, my grandma keeps hers in her purse all the time. I'm like, your grandma carries a gun? He's like, yeah, oh yeah, it's just normal. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Such a different world.
Yeah. Cool world.
What do you enjoy most about firefighting?
The boys, yeah, like I was thinking about it yesterday. We were just sat around the table, and it was like we finished eating lunch, and then I look at the clock, and I'm like, wow, we finished eating an hour ago,
Yeah.
and we're still telling stories about dumb stuff that someone's done, and
Yeah.
you know, and obviously the rumors go around like this place is like wildfires.
Yeah.
There's so many wild rumors and stories, and you can just go on and on and on and on, and obviously half of them aren't even true, but
Yeah,
it's still
exactly.
funny.
Still make for a good story.
Hey, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Exactly.
So that's one thing. Maybe that's like one bit of advice I'd give to like new firefighters. Don't believe everything like they say about someone. Like,
Yeah.
There's probably an element of truth in all these stories, but when you see the person, don't judge them by what everyone else was talking about.
Yeah. Make your own judgment, right?
Mhm.
Your own opinion. What was the main reason for you wanting to go with the department that you got on with, or was it just you were applying everywhere? Or
No, I had like 3 departments that I was applying for: Vancouver, North Van, and Burnaby.
okay, nice.
Yeah, so that was it. I was like, those are the 3 departments I'm going to get on with, and that's it. I'll wait for it.
Huh.
Yeah.
What would you find was the most challenging part of the selection process?
Probably the interview. I had a bit of a rough interview. Like there was someone on there that didn't like the fact that I used the word guys too much,
Oh,
so that
boy.
didn't go down too well. So
Yeah.
try and keep it.
Neutral.
Yeah, neutral.
Knowing your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, I definitely. I said, told my stories the way that, and I never had any like coaching or anything else. I just got in there and just taught, and I got the points, and it was like, this is what it is. This is what I did. This is how I, you try this. I didn't even know about the STAR method until I finished.
right.
And then the guy, I think, one of the guys just turned around to me, the chief, and he was just like, so you've never done any coaching, have you? He goes, however, the way you tell stories, this was a good interview.
Oh yeah, I would imagine that your interview must have been real entertaining for them.
Yeah, except one person.
Yeah. But hey, guess what? You got hired.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's with the fire department. One thing that we love about it so much is that the camaraderie. Like we say it all the time. It's like if you're a professional athlete, like with your team, you're gonna get that same level of camaraderie,
Family.
that family kind of feeling, right? It's so cool that way, and also just the job itself, right? We get to do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Let's do some boring stuff as well.
Yeah. I always say there's times during the job where I'm like, I can't believe I get paid to do this, and there's other times where I'm like, you can't pay me enough to do this.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how guys complain about like cleaning the toilets or whatever. I was like, I'm in there and I'm just doing everything. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm the junior guy in my crew, you know, but all of us are like, yeah, we hang out, it's all banter like non-stop. We don't stop laughing from the moment we get on. And then this morning, the oncoming crew were just like, hey guys, you three need to leave. And we're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it's time.
And at that point I realized like the crew I currently have is like rad. The fact that we're being told to go home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's when
Yeah.
you know you've got something good going on.
Yeah, for sure.
How old were you when you got hired with the fire department?
Well, 35.
35. Nice. Did you like? How'd you find probation? Because obviously, I mean, it would have been pretty easy for you coming from that military background, but you're also, 35. I would say is a little bit older, on the older side of things, right? Did you find
Really
it?
old. Like,
Did
geriatric.
you know?
Way to make me feel good. I wasn't the oldest in my class.
No, well, I mean, people get hired when they're in their 40s too, right? So
Yeah. No, like probation is kind of hard because you're still learning a new job.
yeah.
Yeah, and I had no real fire experience, and everyone in my class had fire experience. So, and then I turn up and I had no idea. There was always paid on call guys who I thought were like a way better level of me, and then when we got catching hydrants, I was like, oh, actually, I can do this just as good as you. And,
Yeah.
I guess I got like a willingness to learn something that I don't know. Just give up that ego. Like it doesn't matter that you're older.
Yeah.
I do see some like newer guys coming on who are older, who have a bit of an attitude like, well, I'm older.
Yeah.
You don't know anything.
Yeah.
Just keep that mouth shut. And,
Yeah, got to remove that ego from the equation.
Exactly.
and it's like people like for the first 6 months or whatever, like don't say anything, just do your thing. Like people are gonna recognize it, and you could 6 months later you can start telling your stories. A year later you can just be who you are, and you're still gonna be the junior guy, but you can throw a few shots at people and.
Yeah, exactly. You're really part of the team. At that point.
Yeah, and I think like just being older, some people struggle with it.
Yeah.
If you are older, just don't struggle with it. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, be okay with the young guy who's 23 telling you to run up the stairs. Like, go home and cry afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you could give a piece of advice to someone who's an aspiring firefighter listening to this, what advice would you give them?
That's an open-ended question. There's so much advice to give to everyone.
Lay it on, dude. Let's hear it.
I think it's just exactly what I just said. Like the drop the ego, just turn up, be quiet. Just do the job. Like it's not hard. Like a lot of the stuff in probation is just teaching you. Like when you break it down, it's just teaching you time management, how to be a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if your job's to mop the floor, like take the mop and mop the floor. Like it's not.
It's not hard.
It's not like being like, oh, I'm below you, I have to do this. It's like, oh no, I'm just gonna clean it, and it's like, and you just start doing. Before I got on the job, I would pour waters for people anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like, people make it really awkward, and you're like, stop making it awkward. Just pick it up and pour water.
Just pour waters. Yeah.
Like,
Don't be weird about it.
Don't be weird about it. But it is. It's like your job is not to do anything. It's to clean. Like, okay, clean and show that you're willing to do these rubbish jobs.
Yeah.
And that's really just get your head down and just
have a good attitude and have a good work ethic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probation's fun anyway.
It is. Honestly, it is. It's just a big game, really, right? And as long as you're, like you said, Jamie, you're willing to have the right attitude and work hard, and you're not going to really have any issues, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're still going to find something to ride you on.
For sure.
And like take it on your chin because like they have to find something to ride you on.
Yeah.
Because you can't be a good probationer. It's not just be like, oh yeah, he's really good. It's like you've got to find something wrong with them. So just accept it. Like even though you know that you've done it right, just take it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We say that all the time. Like you can't win, you can just lose a little bit less.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I remember being dragged in my second six. I was dragged in by the senior guy into the office at 7 Hall, and he was like, "Sit down, Jamie." Okay. What the fuck have I done? He was like, this morning. I was like, fuck me, what's going on? He's like, steak and eggs. How the fuck do you fuck that up? And I was like, he was like, yeah, you're cooking. You need to improve it, step it up. It's just not acceptable. And he was like, I'd be deadly serious. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, okay. I was like, you understand I'm English, right? And he sort of smiled and he was like, okay. And then I stood up and I walked out. He goes, that's it. And I stood up, went walk out the office, turned around, and I was like, but everything else is doing okay. He's like, yeah, you got to memorize a few more things, but like your memorization's crap. But like, yeah, you're doing all right. I got no issues on the fireground.
The steak, Jamie, the steak.
It's a good thing you listened to that episode of Fargo.
But it's funny now because now I send that guy like Instagram videos of like the most disgusting food that people come up with. Like, I send it to him all the time. And he's just like,
See, could be worse. Are you still training martial arts quite a bit?
Yeah, so right now I'm trying to go down to the police fire games in Alabama for jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
Yeah, trying to convince a couple more people on the job to go down because.
Yeah, I remember you actually messaged me about that too.
Yeah.
But my kids due in July, so that is a no-go for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be cool though to get a team together. So the frontline grappling stuff. So I've been talking to Pinky. I'm probably gonna take that over. And I got the gym that I train at. Sean, we had him on the podcast as well, the owner of that gym.
Yeah.
He's a paramedic as well, but he's like, you guys can train there anytime you want. And then he's like, it'd be cool to get a team together to go down to the games in 2027. So if you want to go again, buddy.
We'll see how this goes. I got to lose like 21 pounds and.
But now you're in the opposite spectrum, eh? No more taking pasta.
Yeah. Now like trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Salads and lemon water. That's all you can have.
Mom, salads.
But it's like coming into the crew and I'm like, so I'm going to go down to the police fire games. And I was like, just so you know, we're eating healthy.
Yeah.
And then they're all on board. They're like, yeah, dude, let's all do it. So now, luckily, our crew at 20 are now like, we're now on a health kick.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
they're on board to like helping me. So that's another thing I thought was amazing is just like, I come in with an idea and like everyone just got on board and be like, hey, I got nothing to lose weight for, but like, yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's do it. Yeah.
That's good.
It's never a bad thing to be more healthy.
No,
Right.
You're promoting a healthy fire hall too. And it's crew.
Yeah.
And they're down to do the 2 workouts a day where we can, and
Nice.
Yeah.
How often are you training?
jiu-jitsu like 3 or 4 times a week.
Nice.
We try and get one of I'm bringing the mats into the hall, so we try and get some
it in
drilling
there.
in there. But
Yeah.
obviously you get tapped out all the time, and then you're dripping with sweat.
Yeah.
Dripping on a patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I find that once you hit that like 3-day-a-week mark, you really start to improve.
Yeah.
I find 2 days a week is kind of just like maintenance of your skills, but once you hit that 3-day and 3 plus, you really start to take off, right? So, and you've been training for a while, right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you're training MMA too?
No.
No, just jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, no.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. Used to train a bit MMA, try and get. Used to be Jamie Horf's training partner.
Yeah, she's in the UFC.
She's in the UFC now, but I got a little bit too big for her.
Oh yeah. Salads and lemon water, buddy. Right on, Jamie. Well, listen, dude, we really appreciate you coming on, man.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We had some good laughs and we got to hear some really cool stories, which is awesome. You want to just tell people what your Instagram handle is?
Yeah, it's Jamie Flynn Base. And if you can't understand my accent, just look at how these guys are going to spell it out.
Yeah. Well, we'll when this podcast comes out, we'll tag you in it, anyways, on our Instagram, and then people will be able to find you that way. Cool. So, yeah, buddy. Thanks for everything, dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, dude.
Thanks,
Awesome.
buddy.
Appreciate it.
Right on.